Hello and welcome to the In the Pen podcast, a podcast about relief pitchers, part of the Pitcherless Podcast Network. My name is Jake Crumpler, and as always, I'll be your host, and I'm joined by Pitcherless bullpen expert Rick Graham. Wow, had that locked in all year long. We down to the last episode
Last week.
and somehow screw up the intro. But hey, Rick, we made it. We made it to the end of the 2025 season.
Yeah, we're finally here. It's been a crazy quick year, I feel. I don't know. It's basically after like the All-Star break, it just everything kind of speeds up, I feel. But yeah, we're here. We're getting ready for postseason baseball, which for fantasy purposes, there's really nothing to look forward to. But I mean,
Right.
we love to cover it. We'll talk about the playoffs every other week when we're doing the podcast. So still fun times ahead. And yeah, still, I mean, this weekend the Guardians just lost to Detroit. Finally, Detroit won a game. So I mean, there's still a lot at stake here over the last weekend of baseball.
Yeah, which is something that we've talked about the last couple of weeks and something we were worried about like 3 weeks ago, whether or not there would be
Yeah.
anything to play for. And now we have not only the Tigers and Guardians, but the Blue Jays and Yankees are tied for first place in the AL East. I mean,
Reds, Mets.
That's right. And you can't really count out the Red Sox at this point either. There's only three games left, but it's still possible.
Yeah. They're not going to win that. They're not going to win the AL East, but they should.
They could.
They're not going to.
It's 3 games. They're not going to. But
Detroit needs those games so much more coming up than Boston.
Right. Because the wild card is still yet to be determined. So yeah, will definitely be interesting, fun baseball still to come over the weekend, which I'm really happy to see because I was worried we might have a final week or a final weekend where there's just nothing to play for. It's just sort of tying up loose ends on the season, playing games that don't really need to be played. And then even on top of that, I mean, on the hitting side, you have the L MVP race with Raleigh and Judge going head to head. I mean, yesterday, both hitting a pair of home runs. It's been really cool to see. And the sort of discourse on social media just continues to heat up around that, where a lot of people are on one side and a lot of people are on the other. That's usually how discourse works. I mean, who would you choose if you had to vote right now, if the season ended today?
You're putting me on the spot.
Yes, I am.
I'm going with Cal Raleigh because of the defensive,
unbiased.
The defensive. No, I mean, not really. But I think just the whole defensive, and it's not even like people are still like, well, Judge's WAR is better. It's like that doesn't take into account everything that goes into being a catcher. Like there's so much that isn't statistically measured. And just doing what he's doing as a catcher is just, it's just crazy. And I mean, it's like one of those, like, yeah, they probably both deserve it. And Judge has been on the short end of that before too, if Ohtani being in the AL for a while. So, but yeah, I just think this is just like a historic season for Raleigh. As great of a season it is for Judge, just doing it as a catcher, 60 home runs. I mean, yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that again. You know what I mean?
No.
So that's kind of where I'm at with Raleigh winning.
I mean, he's still got a chance of surpassing Judge's AL home run record, which I think would firmly cement it for me. But it's sort of a taste of his own medicine for Judge after he sort of stole the 2022 MVP award away from Ohtani, because I think Ohtani should probably win it every year that he's a full-on two-way player, which is what he did in 2022. But Judge hit 62 homers that year, and there was all the writers thought he should be the MVP. In my opinion, he robbed Ohtani with his record-breaking home runs in the same way that I think Raleigh will do to Judge this year, where ultimately Ohtani was more deserving than Judge, and this year I think Judge is more deserving than Raleigh based on all the stats. But like you said, I don't think WAR totally encapsulates how much value a catcher brings to the table.
Right.
And Raleigh's just been crazy, especially for a Mariners team that I don't think would be anywhere without him.
No, that's the other thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously Judge is the most important player for the Yankees as well, but without Raleigh, I mean, what he does with the pitching staff as well as offensively, there's just, I mean, he is the most important player in the American League, so that's why he should be the most valuable, in my opinion. But yeah, I can see it going either way. I mean, especially with they're that old school voting group. They love batting average, so that's going to probably sway a bunch of people,
right? Because he's going to win the batting title. Judge
and so that's if it wasn't for that, like if they were both, if like, I mean, their OPSs are not that far off. I mean, obviously Judge is still higher, but still for just, I don't know, from a catcher's standpoint, it's just a crazy season for Raleigh. I'm pretty sure we'll never see it again from a catcher.
I don't think so. I mean, there's only been 7 players to hit 60 homers ever. So like the fact that he did it as a catcher, I mean, we've never seen anybody hit more than 48. So the fact that he's hitting 60 is pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
But we should probably talk about relievers, huh?
Yeah, fine.
All right. So today we will wrap up the news and notes from the past week, the last week of the season, and then we'll skip our 3 up 3 down section. As you know, we're at the end of the season. It doesn't really make much of a difference at this point. Most fantasy seasons, especially if you play on Yahoo, are complete at this point. And then we'll wrap up the season by discussing some of this year's top performers by handing out relief pitcher awards. So let's start it off with the news and notes, beginning with the injuries, as Michael Kopech was placed on the 15-day IL with right knee inflammation. Will Klein was recalled from the minors. And in further Dodgers injuries news, Kirby Yates was placed on the 15-day IL with a hamstring strain. And in a corresponding move, Roki Sasaki was activated from the 60-day IL after missing a few months with a shoulder impingement. And I note him because he will pitch out of the bullpen. He threw a perfect 7th with 2 strikeouts a couple days ago. So we'll see how Sasaki factors into this bullpen. But honestly, with the way that the Dodgers bullpen is pitching, I don't think I'd be the least bit surprised if somebody like Sasaki or even Ohtani is closing out games for them in the postseason.
Yeah, I think the way Ohtani's pitching or starting right now, I think that he's got to stick in the rotation. It's just easier for the Dodgers lineup construction and all that for him to start. But Sasaki, yeah, I mean, that's super intriguing. He looked good his first outing, throwing hard again, upper 90s. And like the Tanner Scott's still struggling, Blake Trine's still struggling. You lose Yates and Kopech, and between those two, Yates, Kopech, and then Brock Stewart, it's like, what are we gonna get anything in the postseason from them, like of any use? So then, like you have Vezina and Dreyer, who've been really good for them, both left-handed. So like Roki Sasaki being that right-handed option. I mean, they're gonna have to lean on him for important innings in that first playoff series. Like realistically, I don't, unless they're going to trust one of those injured guys who come back somehow. But Sasaki's going to be pretty important for them out of the pen. This is obviously short term. Next year he moves back into the rotation, I'd imagine, or hopefully they're hoping he moves back into the rotation. But it will be fun to see him in short innings, just able to let it loose and throw 99, 100 again.
One thing to consider with the pitchers that have been performing well this season, like Vezina and Dreyer and even Anthony Banda, is how much they've been used this season. Some of the other guys that they have on the team that have been relied upon heavily, but haven't been necessarily reliable, like Trinan and Scott and Yates and Kopech, they haven't thrown that many innings, but Vezina and Banda and Dreyer are both all north of 65 appearances on the season. So that could be a factor as well. Overuse throughout the regular season may factor into their performance in the postseason as well.
Hopefully, I think their hope is that Trinan and Scott have enough time off that they're fresh for the postseason. But I don't
not look good. They're not inspiring confidence.
They gotta ramp it up this weekend, and I mean they're running out of time.
Yeah. Moving on to the Royals, Lucas Erceg was placed on the 15-day IL with a shoulder impingement. Speaking of shoulder impingements, Steven Cruz was activated from the 15-day IL in a corresponding move after dealing with one of his own. Steven Cruz does have some potential in that Royals bullpen, but the top setup man, Lucas Erceg, will be out for the final weekend of the season for the Royals. They aren't in postseason contention, so it really shouldn't have much of an impact on how they perform over the weekend and really shouldn't have a huge impact over fantasy teams. But Erceg was pretty solid this year. Do you think he gets back to the potential that he showed last year? Because we just saw the strikeouts fall way off, almost 10% down from last season.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big question mark for him. going into next year is that what happened to the strikeout rate this year? He was a little bit banged up, it feels like, throughout the whole year. For the most part, though, the velo didn't take a huge hit. I mean, it's down a mile per hour, but it's still, I would expect him. Shouldn't have changed his strikeout rate this much. So, yeah, it looks like the slider really also took a dive as far as effectiveness. So a couple things here, but I expect him to get back on track. He's someone still I don't think it's going to happen next year. Maybe it never happens, but it's someone I would be interested in seeing in a starting role at some point, just because
I was thinking the same thing.
This 4-pitch mix, and I mean, if he loses a little velo, I still think he'd be all right. Maybe spread him out. Maybe that's something they try next year, just spreading him out like multiple innings. But I don't know. It's staying healthy is the first thing for him. He's got to stay healthy, and then they can consider moving him into a rotation spot.
That's Lucas Urseg. Next, we have Robert Stevenson, who was placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. Sam Bachman was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and the Angels also returned Ryan Zefferjon from the 15-day IL after missing time with knee tendonitis, optioning Sammy Peralta to the minors in a corresponding move. Terrible end to the season for Robert Stevenson, who was finally healthy. I was excited to see him head into the offseason in full health. Now I'm concerned once again. Yeah, it's terrible. I'm sort of on the fence now about whether or not I can, continue to support him. Obviously, I want him to succeed, but it's like not somebody that I can really ring the bell for anymore, Robert Stevenson. But good to see Ryan Zefferjon back, and at least his injury wasn't arm related, so we weren't too concerned. But Robert Stevenson dealing with elbow inflammation to close out the season is like the last thing I wanted to see for this Angels bullpen.
I know. I'm trying to. There's still. I don't think there's been any like definitive news on what's going on. He himself, again, take it with a grain of salt, but he himself said he's not as concerned with it as he was last year. So they're still waiting on imaging and all that, but hopefully it's not a long-term concern. I just want him to have a normal off season and like a normal spring training, and but yeah, I don't know. The Angels' plans for next year between him and Ben Joyce, it's like neither of those guys can stay healthy. So they're probably going to look to add some sort. Maybe they just keep Kenley Jansen for another year until one of those two guys can prove they can stay healthy.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it's hard to trust him after. Yeah, that's his third time going on the IL or third time on the IL with an arm injury this year. So yeah, it's not looking like a great investment for the Angels.
No, and it looked like such a good signing when it first happened because he was coming off such a good season with the Rays. But unfortunately, honestly, it's probably the Angels' fault. I feel like if Stevenson went to a different team, probably would have went differently. They just have such bad pitching luck in general. Our last injury involves Sean Newcomb, who was placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. Scott McGuff was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, but terrible end to a really great season for Newcomb, who closed out the season very strong after coming over from the Red Sox. Really broke out as a reliever for the A's. We haven't seen Newcomb find success in the majors in quite a while, and so this sort of gave us hope. I think he's going to be a free agent this offseason, but sort of entering the offseason injured is probably less than ideal for a guy who was probably guaranteed a pretty decent role in a bullpen considering how well he pitched down the stretch.
Yeah, hopefully again with these like late year elbow injuries, it's like it's hard to know if they're like how serious they are because maybe it's just like when something's nagging, it's like we might as well shut them down. We're out of playoff contention anyway. So hopefully that's just what it is here. Is he had thrown I think 91 innings this year. So maybe just take the last week off. He's had a great year. Hopefully he's healthy for free agency, and he can he should get a guaranteed year, maybe even a multi-year deal from a team after his season. He's really turned things around as a reliever.
All right, that's Sean Newcomb. Now we can take a look at our transactions from the past week, starting with Kyle Finnegan, who was activated from the 15-day IL after missing time with a groin strain. Bailey Horn was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move, and I also thought this move was interesting for the Tigers as they selected the contract of Tanner Rainey, formerly of the Nationals. Charlie Morton was designated for assignment and released before signing with the Braves in a corresponding move. I think the Braves also signed Yoel Payamps alongside Morton.
What?
So
They are just collecting veterans at this point.
They're getting everybody. But Kyle Finnegan's back. Looks like he's going to be at least in a co-closer committee with Will Vest for the Tigers. And do you think, I don't know, Tanner Rainey can find some luck? He did not pitch well this year, but he's always been somebody that has some potential.
I mean, has Alex Lang been that bad? I mean, I thought he looked pretty good. Like, why are they going to Tanner Rainey over Alex Lang? Anyway. No, Rainey's. I don't have anything for Rainey. Finnegan has been not the same guy he was in Detroit before the injury. Will Vest got a save tonight. I'm surprised that they even trusted him, but I mean, they're just that whole bullpen's in shambles, and they're just trying to figure it out to get to the postseason at this point. But yeah, I think Finnegan's still gonna either way gonna play some sort of role at the back end. But yeah, it looks like Vest is still the closer there for now, tentatively. And yeah, I don't think Rainey's going to do much this weekend unless the Tigers are down big or up big in one of those games.
Right, and I don't think he's eligible for the postseason because he wasn't on the 40-man entering September. So, yeah, I doubt he'll do much here to get him a big contract or anything next year. Next, we've got the Cubs, who optioned Porter Hodge to the minors and designated Nate Pearson for assignment. He was ultimately released. He's a free agent. Jordan Wicks was also recalled from the minors in a corresponding move to Hodge's optioning, but then he was subsequently optioned to the minors to make room for the return of Daniel Palencia from the 15-day IL after missing time with a shoulder strain. Palencia, in his return, did not get a save opportunity. They pitched him earlier in the game, and I think they just are going to ease him back into action here. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the closer throughout the postseason, but he was looking pretty gassed before he was placed on the IL, and a shoulder injury is a bit concerning, but sort of interesting to see Porter Hodge going back down to the minors. He could definitely be called back up for the postseason, but I thought he was looking better since he returned from his lengthy minor league stint.
He was having a really good September, and then I guess his last outing he allowed 3 earned, 2 home runs. So
demotion.
They're just like, we can't have that. And to be fair, I guess it's like this bullpen doesn't have there's not a lot of guys with options also. So when you're talking about activating Palencia, literally no one in this bullpen has options outside of Palencia. So the Hodge kind of had to go. But I still think there's a chance he has some sort of role if they get deep into the postseason. But as far as the closer goes, for now I'm thinking it's some sort of 3-headed committee with Kittredge, Keller, Palencia. Not even sure how much Palencia really factors in. He did look good yesterday in his first game back. So it's that time of year for these postseason teams. I know Trevor McGill's aiming to be back Sunday. It's like, trying to get 1 or 2 outings in before the postseason starts for those guys. So, we'll see how things shake up for the Cubs bullpen. I think it's a deep bullpen either way. So I don't even know if they really need to have set matchups in October, but it'll be interesting to watch, I guess.
All right, and lastly, we have the Pirates, where Hunter Barco, the Pirates' number 4 prospect and the number 82 prospect in baseball, was selected from the minors. He pitched to a 2.81 ERA with a 28% strikeout rate between AA and AAA. He was a starter in the minors, but Barco will pitch out of the bullpen during his brief cup of coffee this week. He pitched a scoreless 6th in his debut a few days ago. And the Pirates optioned Evan Sisk to the minors in a corresponding move. I thought that was weird. And then I also thought it was weird that then they sent Dory Moretta to the minors to make room for the return of Chase Sugart. I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're probably just trying out some other guys in the majors, but I feel like Moretta and Sisk are going to be important parts of that bullpen next year. I don't know why you wouldn't want them to finish with like the confidence of ending the season in the minors or in the majors.
I don't know, just shuffling the deck around a little bit. I don't know why Barco's. At least give Barco a chance to start a game or 2 down the stretch. Why not? If you're bringing him up, I don't know. Maybe just like, does Mitch Keller need to keep getting starts? Just give him a break or something, because it's not like he's or whatever. But Barco's definitely interesting. I think he's long term still a starter, most likely. So not fantasy relevant. Neither is any of the other bullpen moves. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how they fill out the back end of this bullpen next year, the Pirates. But yeah, there's a lot of guys on the 40-man still who can go kind of move up and down the roster. So a lot of positions to fight for in the spring training for the Pirates bullpen next year.
All right. Well, that will wrap up the injuries and transactions from the past week. Next, we will head into our main section and discuss closers and relief pitchers. We'll discuss relief pitcher awards. There we go. But first, that's right. But first, we're going to take a quick break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relief pitchers. Let's talk awards. I don't know why I can't get my words. My computer's being really weird over here. I opened the history thing, and then it opened up the tab, and then it won't go away. And I think it won't go away. That's so I can't see anything.
That's always good.
So I'll hand it over to you for a sec as I figure this out.
Yeah, we can. We'll start off with the easy, or not the easy ones, but the two big ones: the AL Closer of the Year, NL Closer of the Year. I think AL Closer of the Year is more competition, but ultimately, I feel like Aroldis Chapman's the guy this year to earn that honor. I mean, he's putting up a historic season from an ERA and WHIP standpoint. 1.19 ERA, 0.71 WHIP are the best in baseball. 32 saves on the year too. That's fourth best in baseball. And yeah, surprising. This was not the guy I don't think anyone would have picked to be the best reliever in the AL this year. But yeah, it's clicked for him in Boston. I forget where I was hearing it, but it was basically Andrew Bailey just told him to throw, fastballs down the middle of the plate, or just throw strikes, essentially. Just throw your stuff middle and just see what happens. And it's working because his stuff's nasty still. So yeah, I think Chapman, is I think he definitely is the top, closer in the AL, but Andres Munoz was right behind him. But we gave him another award. So yeah, Aroldis Chapman.
All right, I'm back in business. Yes, Chapman definitely deserving of the American League Reliever of the Year award. I think there's always the discussion when we talk about this stuff. Is this who we think is going to win the award?
I personally,
right? Or is this, what we expect the voters to do? Because they could always go differently, especially, with the way that saves are handed around. I mean, Aroldis Chapman isn't leading the American League in saves. In fact, Carlos Estevez might even get some votes because of how many saves he has this year leading baseball with 41. But Chapman has had an electric campaign and was nearly historic with it up until a cold stretch in the beginning of September. But yeah, really incredible this year. 1.19 ERA, 37% strikeout rate. And as you mentioned, finally figured out his control, which wild. I don't know how it took him that long, but it was enough for him to take his game to the next level, which is saying something for a guy that's probably on a Hall of Fame trajectory, as long as the voters ignore all the off-field stuff.
Yeah, I know that's a big thing. But yeah, I guess, from what he did on the field and even the ERA, the WHIP, I mean, it was backed up by 2.14 Sierra, which was second best amongst relievers. Obviously the strikeouts are still there for him, 30.4% K minus walk, third best amongst relievers, and just his stuff's still filthy. It's still nasty. I mean, 36.1% zone Z minus O percentage, which is my zone contact minus O swing percentage. So basically just how nasty your stuff is. And that ranked second best amongst relievers behind only Josh Hader. So yeah, it's at his age, it's crazy to see him have the best season of his career. But I guess, relievers, it's, you're only throwing one inning at a time. I mean, there's been some really good reliever seasons that, upper 30s. I mean, even guys like David Robertson and Chris Martin still having good seasons at this point in their career. So it's just Chapman doing it while throwing 100 still is just kind of mind-boggling. Yeah.
Right. And he pitched so well that he earned himself an extension with the Red Sox. So he's got that to hang his hat on as well. If he doesn't ultimately win the award, which I think he will, he's at least going to make some more money next year. In the National League, I think this one's even a bit closer than we'll see in the American League. I feel like Chapman's probably going to run away with it, but we're going to be handing the award in the National League for the closer of the year to Edwin Diaz, who's pitched to a 1.73 ERA with 27 saves and 2 F4 this season. I think the only thing that hurts him here is the very low number of saves for a guy who's pitched really well all year. It is very weird. I mean, he's been so dominant this year that I think the new age voters will look at his numbers and recognize him as the best closer in the National League. But with guys like Robert Suarez recording 40 saves and other closers in the National League sort of giving him some competition, I think there's a possibility that he doesn't win. And honestly, I think the only guy who outside of Suarez would give him some competition is like Yohan Duran. But how do the voters factor in his time in the American League? Exactly. So ultimately, Diaz, I think, runs away with this award, if not for the 27 saves.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of goes to show you why you can't predict saves. It's just the Mets are as of now a playoff team, and their closers he is the best closer in the NL, and he's only got 27 saves. It's not his fault. It's it's not really the Mets' fault. The Mets are winning games. It's just how it works when it comes to saves. So, I put saves in here because we're talking about closers, but I mean, if you have 25 or more, I feel like you qualify for closer of the year. It's kind of, I don't know, that's at this point.
He's definitely a closer.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, this is he's had great seasons before, but this is, kind of sneakily one of his better performances. His 2.12 Sierra backs up the ERA. That 2.12 Sierra is the best amongst relievers. 30.6% K- walk rate, second best amongst relievers, and still an 18% swing strike rate, sixth best amongst relievers. He's still missing bats, still keeping low ratios. The saves are just the weird kind of outlier here, but 27 saves are still 27 saves. He did what he could with the opportunities he had.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the closers get all of the attention when it comes to relief pitchers, especially in fantasy and especially so in award season. So we've taken it upon ourselves as one of the premier relief pitching podcasts to hand out further awards, because honestly, it's just reliever of the year, and that's it when it comes to MLB awards. I mean, we have like the all MLB team, which will hand out awards to, I think, 4 different relievers for the first and second team. But that leaves a lot of guys who go unrecognized. Even still, we only have closers being recognized. So without the support that the closers get from the rest of their bullpen, they wouldn't have leads to save anyway. So I think now it's time to honor the best setup men in baseball, those guys who pitch the 7th and 8th inning, get holds and lock down leads for their clubs, handing the ball over to the closers. And I think these guys deserve the recognition because they sort of seed that recognition throughout the season by giving the 9th to the closers who get all of the recognition. So let's start in the American League and award Setup Man of the Year in the American League to Southpaw Garrett Clevenger, who recorded 21 holds with a 0.93 whip for the Rays this season. You can also add on a 2.24 ERA and a 34% strikeout rate from the Southpaw.
Yeah. And again, it's, when we talk about saves with Edwin Diaz not being totally in his control, I think same goes with holds to a degree as well. Only one reliever in the AL had 30 or more holds. That was Hunter Gaddis. But Clevenger still was 21, still in that 20 range. Whip under 1. And then, underlying metrics backed up everything with him. 2.52 Sierra, 26.1% K- walk, and a 34.5% CSW, which was 4th best amongst relievers. He's kind of been under the radar for the Rays, or even when he was in LA for a little bit, just an under the radar lefty. who especially with how deep that Rays bullpen is, he kind of gets lost in the shuffle there. But consistently, probably the most consistent Rays reliever this season, start to finish.
Yeah.
We saw Fairbanks kind of have some highs and lows. Even, Uceta obviously had some lows and then highs. Jax had some struggles too once he got there, Baker as well. But like Clevenger's been the one guy this year that's been steady for them. And yeah, 21 holds. I think if that Rays team was playing better, that number would have gone up. And just the way he dominated this year while, pitching in that ballpark, that really seemed to, struggle. A lot of those Rays pitchers struggled in uncharacteristically. I think isn't even like, a little bit of more of a boost for me is just how dominant he was pitching in that ballpark in Florida.
And they really haven't had any other lefties that pitched well this year, especially with Mason Montgomery struggling. Yeah, so it was really important that Clevenger was reliable for the Rays all year long. And you can't really blame him for the lack of holds, like you said, but there's just so many options there and so many other guys getting holds. Obviously, Baker and Jax recorded a lot of holds for their former teams, but you had Edwin Uceta there getting the majority of the holds with 21 on the season, tied for Clevenger, but still taking away a lot of opportunities from him. And I think the Rays have more traditional bullpen usage than they used to, but they're still a bit unorthodox in the way that they'll switch up who the setup man is. So like for somebody like Hunter Gaddis, where it was like every 8th inning, he's pitching, he's getting the hold if there's a lead. Clevenger really didn't get that because of the Rays' willingness to shift things around, especially with the need to use Clevenger against lefties earlier in the ball game. But nonetheless, he was so consistent all year long. And like you mentioned, really underrated, but deserving of the setup man of the year in the American League. Moving over to the National League, we have a guy who's currently a closer, but is well deserving of this award. And that's Abner Uribe, who recorded 37 holds this season with a 1.70 ERA, setting up Trevor McGill for most of the season before taking over as the closer down the stretch. Abner Uribe broke out this year. Really incredible campaign for the right-hander in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think Uribe is the easy answer here. I don't think there's much to really even argue about. In the AL, like Clevenger, I like Clevenger, but I honestly, Brian Abreu was the other person that could have gotten it easily in the AL. But in the NL, I think Uribe is, led the league, and he's going to end up leading the league in holds, 37, plus 6 saves because he's now closing out games. Yeah, keeping that ERA under 1.7. The walks were always the issue with him, and he's really improved on that walk rate. But yeah, the stuff's obviously always been crazy. It still is, huge bat missing ability. 31.9% CSW this year. Top those 13th best amongst relievers. Stuff plus ranks 118. That's 16th best. So yeah, just really great to see Uribe, one of those breakout seasons for one of the young, more electric arms in the game. And yeah, 37 holds. It looks like no one's going to get to 40 holds this year, which is like almost unheard of. But yeah, he should be safe at the number one marker at 37. So, but like we talked about with Gaddis, same thing goes with Uribe, where like Uribe was the 8th inning guy for Trevor McGill all season long, like automatically was getting that hold. Whereas like Tampa Bay would mix and match some guys because they just had such a deep bullpen. But either way, both Uribe well deserving, and hopefully he goes back to a holds role as Trevor McGill looks to come back this weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Brewers fans. Our next pair of awards are here to honor the best relievers that switched leagues. You don't really see this anywhere. Rick is cooking up some crazy ideas.
I just wanted to talk about certain guys, so these rewards are going to get ridiculous. Just hold on. Yeah, just hang on.
It gets crazier. Yeah. All right. So to honor the best reliever that switched from the American League to the National League, we will honor, I think pretty obviously, Yohan Duran, who recorded 31 saves between the Twins and the Phillies has looked really dominant for both of them with a 2.09 ERA. The strikeouts haven't been as obscene as they were in years past, but he's been so reliable for both of his clubs. And honestly, I think this is the best season of his career, despite the strikeouts being a little bit lower. He's been healthy all year long, career high in saves, career low ERA. Really great campaign for Yohan Duran, and certainly the best reliever that switched leagues from the junior circuit to the senior circuit.
Yeah, him and Mason Miller, but we have Mason Miller for another thing. So
right.
Spoiler, but yeah, I mean Duran, consistency this year, and just we had issues with him, and even I think at the beginning of the year where it's like the Twins got off to a slow start and Duran had some issues in non-save situations, and it's like, here we go again. But he righted the ship. And then once he's gotten to once he came over to Philly, it's been even more of he's had more of an impact. I just had a better outcomes, I feel like, and just what he means to that Philly bullpen is so it's a big difference maker for them. And it's going to be a huge key to them in the postseason with, not having Zach Wheeler there. But yeah, Duran's, he's been having some, good seasons the past couple of years, and he's never he's not going to be the top one or two relievers or closers. I don't think there's ever going to be, I don't want to say ever, but he's not someone you're going to draft like first or second off the board as far as relievers go, but he's in that next group, the 3 to 5, 3 to 6 range. And the interesting thing with him this year I found is his 65.6% ground ball rate was number one amongst all relievers. So the strikeout rate did dip, but at least he's getting a little bit more. He's getting more weak contact and ground balls. I don't want to say Emmanuel Clase like, but it's weak contact, balls on the ground. I mean, that's fine. We'll take that if it means a little bit of a lower strikeout rate, because it should help with his ratios being steady. And yeah, I mean, the stuff's crazy still throws up, 100 plus, 125 stuff plus for him on the year. So yeah, great season for Yohan Duran, both in Minnesota and now in Philly.
Right. And as we have that reward, we have the accompanying award as we discuss the best reliever that switched from the National League to the American League. And that award will go to Phil Maton, who recorded 22 holds, 5 saves, and 4 wins between the Cardinals and Rangers, ultimately finishing with a 2.69 ERA and a 33% strikeout rate. This is what I expected from him last year. Right. After he signed with the Rays, I always thought of Maton as really underrated with the Astros. I mean, it's warranted given he does not throw hard. He averages below 90 miles per hour with his primary fastball, but he was somebody that I thought the Rays would turn into a star. I ultimately thought he was going to be somebody who signed with a lower tier team, got a bunch of saves, and sort of boosted his stock going back into free agency, but he sort of failed last year with the Rays before being traded to the Mets, and latched on with the Cardinals this year and was dominant. Has not been as electric with the Rangers, been a little bit shaky, but he's definitely figured it out recently and is factoring more so into the 9th inning, getting the most recent save for the Rangers. But Phil Maton, a great season for a pitcher switching from the NL to the AL.
Yeah, and he's someone who I was looking at like last my initial like rankings last December, going into this year, and yeah, I had completely written him off. I had him at like 146 in my save plus holds after how bad last year was, but then yeah, the Cardinals took a chance. He's turned things around. It's gonna be very interesting to see. Yeah, what does his market look like now that he's gonna be this whole free agent class is it's one of the better reliever classes, or there's just a lot of variables in this reliever class, I guess is what I'll say. But yeah, what's Phil Maton's value going to be? It's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, his ability to miss bats and also just limit hard contact this year was amazing. 41.7% C-O. That's 9th best amongst relievers. 33.7% CSW, 9th best amongst relievers, and then 29.1% hard hit rate, 4th best amongst relievers. So that combination of missing bats as well as limiting hard contact. I mean, it's kind of all you're looking for in the back end of a game. So yeah, what's his market going to be? Is he get a chance to get a multi-year deal? Is he kind of get the same deal he got last year in Tampa Bay? Like, I feel like this is the best year of his career though. So even after last year's dud, this is a career year for him. So it'll be interesting to see what type of role he gets and what sort of contract he gets.
It's very hard to argue with the numbers, but I think a lot of teams and definitely fantasy managers will be scared away by the lack of velocity there from Maton. But you can't really argue with the results. It doesn't matter about the process. He's a different pitcher.
He's different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. We will continue our relief pitcher awards, moving on to some very notable ones. But first, we're going to take another break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relief pitchers. We are moving on with our relief pitcher awards. Now we will discuss another one that Rick has devised. And this one is definitely warranted and is not as weird as some of the other ones we might talk about. This one is the high leverage reliever of the year award. Basically, the pitcher that had the best season in sort of a hybrid role where maybe they were a closer, maybe they were a setup guy, but ultimately they were pitching the highest leverage spots and absolutely dominating. This award goes to Mason Miller, who spent time both with the A's and the Padres, recording 21 saves and 10 holds while pitching to a 2.73 ERA with an obscene 43% strikeout rate. That's Mason Miller.
Yeah, I think he's the only one I think he's the only reliever that finished qualified reliever that finished with a K rate over 40%. So yeah, that's crazy. The type of difference that he makes. I mean, also led the league, led all relievers in swinging strike rate, 21.3%. And his 2.2 Sierra was third best amongst qualified relievers. So yeah, he's crazy. He's insane how good he is. I mean, he's going to be a closer next year. I'm sure his draft stock's going to be through the roof, as it should be. Especially because he's not closing out games for the A's, which, heading into the year, we thought that A's team was really bad, and they haven't been great, but I mean, they have a good future. But closing out games in San Diego is a whole different animal, and you saw how many chances Robert Suarez got this year. So yeah, big good times ahead for Mason Miller, and as far as fantasy goes, it's hard to say he's not a top 3 closer going into next year, but there's a lot of competition up there still, so we'll see how that goes. When I know my initial ranks for next year will be out within a month, so I know, wow. Crazy, I know. But yeah, we gotta get that initial fresh off the 2025 season. Like, what are we thinking for 2026? That sort of ranking out. So, top of my head, Miller is definitely a top 3 closer for next year.
All right. And with Miller winning the high leverage reliever of the year, we have the sister award, which is the fireman of the year. This one goes to the best reliever with 10 or more wins and 10 or more saves plus holds, sort of akin to what Andrew Miller did for the Guardians, or formerly the Indians, back in the day. And this award goes to All-Star Adrian Morahone, who recorded 20 holds with 13 wins and 3 saves for the Padres this year. Crazy that they have both of these guys. The Padres have both of these pitchers.
And they also have Jeremiah Estrada and Jason Adams.
That's right.
He's healthy. But
and the National
Robert
League leader in saves. Yeah. Just a bonkers bullpen for the Padres there. But Morahone definitely deserving of this award with a 2.11 ERA and 24% strikeout rate on the season.
Yeah, and he's another. I mean, I like the wording of these awards. You came up with it. I'll give you props for that.
Thank you.
It's because I couldn't think of it. But yeah, I think even with Morahone being the fireman, obviously we still talk about like him being a big leverage guy. He had a 1.96 WPA against leverage index, 4th best amongst relievers. So that just goes to show where he's trusted and how effective he is in these situations. But yeah, the wins go to show that he's coming in 4th, 5th, 6th inning, and that's to his benefit, I guess. How deep that bullpen is they can afford to bring in a guy like him that early, because they can just go to Estrada, Adam, Mason Miller to get to the ball to Robert Suarez in the 9th. So yeah, Morejon's able to come in the 5th inning and soak up some wins as well as holds. So yeah, this is kind of the guy in those leagues where it's like save plus holds, but wins still count. It's like there's a huge huge impact from someone like Morejon he's getting more wins than Paul Skeens at plus 20 holds, plus really good ratios. So yeah, he was definitely a huge fantasy asset for save plus holds leagues this year, and even in non-save plus holds leagues, 13 wins is 13 wins.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's time to take a victory lap with our Told You So Reliever of the Year award. This one goes to Andres Munoz, who not only recorded 38 saves with a 1.47 ERA so far on the season, but we told you so because we had him. I think we both had him leading the American League in saves this season. He will finish second, most likely. I don't even think it's possible for him to tie Carlos Estevez at this point. But we both were targeting Andres Munoz, and he had an incredible season for the Mariners. And I'm glad we were so in on him in the offseason because it just seemed so obvious that the full-on breakout was incoming. He was very solid last year, but he just didn't have the saves to make him super fantasy relevant. And this year, he not only had the saves, closing in on 40 saves, but he's also got the pristine sub 1.5 ERA and a 34% strikeout rate.
Yeah, I mean, he was just like we knew he was due for this. We didn't know, but we had a hunch he was due. And I think the big thing for us or for me is like, Dan Wilson's taken over. We're not going to see Munoz throw in the 7th or 8th inning,
right?
Like he was with Matt Brash occasionally getting the 9th, or Paul Sewell when he was there. How they were mismanaging that bullpen kind of. So yeah, just being the set closer. Yeah, I mean that Mariners both like that team is built for a closer to have a ton of saves. The way they win by pitching and then the occasional home run to it's always low scoring, close games that they're winning. So closers are always gonna have a good time in Seattle. So yeah, he was due for that. And then the 1.47 ERA, I mean, that I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, he's good enough for that to make sense. I mean, 2.93 xFIP, still really, really good, below 3. So yeah, he's still able to miss bats, still able to give you good ratios, and the saves finally came, this year. So yeah, great year for Andres Munoz. Again, he's the other guy who I think Chapman could get some votes, steal some votes from Chapman as far as AL closer of the year would be Munoz.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we will now move on.
We need a better name for this one.
The best reliever to miss significant time with injury month plus. I think that's pretty good. It rolls right off the tongue. But the best reliever who missed significant time this year is Josh Hader.
It's just because Josh Hader I wanted to talk about how good of a year, like how important he is and like the type of year he was having. 37% K rate, was 4th best amongst relievers. 34.3% zone contact minus O swing, best amongst relievers. I mean, his stuff, he misses bats out of the zone, and no one can hit him when he's in the zone. And since he went down, the Astros are 19-23. Probably not going to make the postseason at this point. It seems it's between them and Detroit. I think I want to say the Red Sox are safe. I know they still have to win one more game or get some help next from Houston losing. But I think the Astros are going to miss the postseason, and it's not entirely because Hader went down. But I mean, it's been a bit of a it's obviously been a big significant factor in this collapse from Houston.
Definitely. I don't know what they would do without Josh Hader.
It's like
in the postseason either.
Yeah, I know. They're running out of bodies there at this point. It's
right.
But yeah, I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have been on the same trajectory as Chapman and Munoz as far as like closer of the year. I think he was kind of with them. But yeah, the injury gives Chapman and even Munoz a little bit of a leg up. So hopefully Hader's at least ready to go next year. Again, there's a lot of good that top end, that top group of closers next year is going to be, really stacked. The top 5 or 6, and haters amongst them once again.
All right, now we'll head into some more traditional awards, starting with the breakout relievers of the year. We'll go over to the American League first and mention another Mariners reliever in Gabe Spear, who has been very quietly incredible for the Mariners this year. Spear has 24 holds and a 0.87 ERA. He was pretty solid a couple years ago, but this one is definitely more recognizable as a big season for Spear, who has a 2.55 ERA and a 34% strikeout rate on the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been super underrated, and 24 holds is like, still like, it doesn't seem very high, but that's the top 15 amongst holds on the year for relievers. But yeah, it's the underlying metrics too. It's 2.22 Sierra is fourth best amongst all qualified relievers, and that's all these Chapmans, Mason Millers, Josh Hader's, and even 29.2% K minus walk is also fourth best amongst relievers. Again, this guy is a top 4 reliever in those 2 categories, which to me are pretty significant. Especially K minus walk being, 4th best amongst relievers. That's, just goes to show. And that's not something that we had always, we talked about Spear last year, and we've kind of been in on him, but I never thought this would be the type of season he would be able to pull off this type of significant, strikeout minus walk rate, and the whip being that low and the holds. So yeah, no one really, the casual fans do not know who Gabe Spear is, but I'm hoping after October, and I'm thinking the Mariners aren't going to, they're hot right now. They're probably going to make a run is my thought. I kind of like them to come out of the AL at this point. So hopefully people get to know who Gabe Spear is by the end of October. Because him, Matt Brash, and Andres Munoz after their starters go, that's going to be a big factor for that Mariners team this postseason.
In the National League, we have to honor Randy Rodriguez in some way. He will be our breakout reliever of the year in the NL. Randy had a 1.78 ERA and a 0.89 whip with 17 saves plus holds on the season. Unfortunately, his season ended early due to injury, and he's now going to miss all of next year as well after undergoing Tommy John surgery. But Rodriguez was incredible when he was healthy, so much so that he earned himself an All-Star appearance and this award right here.
I think this one's more important than the All-Star appearance, to be honest. But yeah, his last year was his rookie season. He had a 4.30 ERA, 1.24 whip, just 5 save plus holds on the year. So yeah, this is obviously a huge breakout for him. 17 save plus holds, so that's up by 12, and that's he's missed the last month and a half or so now. So he would have easily been in the 20s if he hadn't gotten hurt. But yeah, he's been amazing all year until he got hurt. It's gonna be tough that we won't get to see him pitch next year, but he's still relatively young. I think he's still like 25. So he's hopefully bounces back and is ready to go for 2020. 2027, which we're gonna have a lot of good relievers coming back for 2027 after the onslaught of Tommy Johns we've seen this year.
Right. And I'm sure we'll see plenty more next year, knocking on wood. All right, now we'll go into some more traditional awards, handing out the Comeback Reliever of the Year award for the American League and the National League. We'll start in the junior circuit with Garrett Whitlock, who has been incredible this year for the Red Sox, and a little bit quietly so. I don't think there's been lots of talk about Garrett Whitlock being as dominant as he has been, but a 2.28 ERA, 24 holds, and a 30% strikeout rate to go with 7 wins is hard to argue against, especially with Whitlock coming off a season in which he barely pitched and did not look good a couple of years ago when he did pitch.
Yeah, I mean, only 4 appearances last year and then a 5.15 ERA in 2023. So yeah, to see him, and it's partially he's healthy, but also just the fact that he's back in the bullpen full time, which he should have been in the bullpen full time since his rookie year. So yeah, he's back to where he really exceeds and excels. And yeah, without him, because Justin Slayton took a step back this year and was hurt, they would have been, they really didn't have any other true 7th or 8th inning option. So Whitlock's been a huge difference maker for that Red Sox bullpen.
And in the National League, I mean, this one's a little bit iffy on the league here, but David Bednar.
It started
That's right. I mean, that's where the comeback started. David Bednar had a big comeback season after really struggling last year, making a lot of us question how much we could support him. And then he also opened the season being demoted to the minors after pitching terribly. And as I mentioned last season, terrible 5.77 ERA, but this year has been much better as he's not only reclaimed the closer role in Pittsburgh, but then maintained it after going to the Bronx. Bednar pitched to a 2.41 ERA with 25 saves and a 34% strikeout rate.
Yeah, I mean, just completely all the way back to form for him after just because this is different for me. Like comeback player of the year, it's usually like, all right, they missed last year, they were really bad last year. But not only that, but just him being like the start of the season and then it's like a comeback mid-season for him. You know what I mean? Just being demoted and then just getting right back into being the closer in Pittsburgh by the end of April. And then just hasn't really given up. I mean, he wasn't the closer in New York for like a week, and then Devin Williams had a couple blown saves, and now Bednar's been their closer, and he's not giving up that role anytime soon. So, it's a great to see him having success after the start of the season. And for those who were able to hold on after the rocky beginning, congratulations. I'm sure it definitely worked out for you.
I was not one of those guys.
A lot of people weren't. Yeah.
Now
I remember
I
got a lot of hate early on for ranking Bednar above Jordan Romano. And I'm glad that I held firm on that because it's Bednar really pulled through.
He did. Now we'll talk about some unlucky and lucky relievers, guys who either underachieved or overachieved. We'll hand out rewards that accompany those designations, starting in the American League with the unlucky closer, somebody who underachieved this year that deserved much better, and that's Devin Williams of the Yankees. He had a 4.95 ERA on the season. However, that's a 2.3 point difference between his 2.62 Sierra. So Devin Williams deserved much better this year, was just bitten by home runs all year long. I think Yankees fans will probably argue with this one, given their distrust of Williams this year and, how much they gave up and how much trust they put into him. But he definitely underachieved this year. Williams deserved a lot better.
Still an absolutely elite bat missing reliever. 35.2% K rate, 36% zone contact minus O swing, third best amongst relievers behind Hader and Chapman. It's obviously been a struggle. It's really, if you take, I mean, you can't, but like you just take like 2 weeks out of his season, it's he's been the same Devin Williams we're used to. I'm looking forward to a potential discount next year, wherever he's closing. I'm hoping he goes somewhere and closes out games. I don't know where, but a team should still consider him a top tier closer. Really looking forward to seeing where he lands. Again, this free agency group is just nuts. So Williams is one of the top options though, and I'm guessing he'll still get paid like a closer, whether it's for a year and big money or if it's multi-year. He's still, the ERA is going to fool people, but it's going to give you a bargain on draft day next year.
Right. And sticking in the American League and taking away the closer designation, we will discuss.
I wanted to talk about this guy too. So I'm like, all right, let's not non-closer reliever.
Right. Fitting in as many notable names as we
Pretty
can
much, yeah.
here. So the American League Unlucky Reliever Underachiever of the Year is Griffin Jax, who pitched to a 4.29 ERA, but the underlying metrics suggest he was still elite with a 2.15 xFIP, which is a 2.14 point difference between his ERA and expected FIP. Jax had a 35% strikeout rate and switched from the Twins to the Rays, and it really did feel like he wasn't quite pitching to the degree that he did in years past, but all the underlying metrics suggest he's still the same guy.
Yeah, there's not a ton of concern. Really, really bad luck. Batted ball luck, home run luck. Still 35.8% CSW is best in baseball. PLV still loves him. 5.41's third in baseball. Everything still screams this guy's an elite reliever. And now next year, it's is he going to start? Is he going to be in the bullpen? A lot of different roles for him next year. I think no matter what, he's going to be a really good pitcher, and that ERA is going to come down. It's not going to be above 4 next year, that's for sure. So, he's kind of a guy who just going to want to draft because he's going to basically be maybe not free, but he's going to be a late round pick almost, unless he somehow gets the closer role early if they move on from Fairbanks or something. But yeah, someone to definitely target next year, Griffin Jax. We'll just wait and see what his role is for now.
All right, now we will look at the accompanying awards in the National League, starting with the Unlucky Closer or Underachiever of the Year, and it'll be the aforementioned Jordan Romano, who, if you recall, he did open the season as the Phillies closer, so he still technically falls under that designation. But boy, was he unfortunate this year, pitching to an 8.23 ERA, which is 4.6 points off of his 3.65 Sierra, which suggests that Romano really was not as bad as the numbers on the field were. But man, really unfortunate season, and finishing the season on the IL as well. I think that bodes well for a potential resurgence next year for Romano, but nonetheless, he earns an award by putting up bad numbers with great underlying metrics.
Yeah, he feels like now the type of candidate who, if he's healthy, he's like, he goes and gets a 1-year deal with a bad team, try to reestablish some value, but also get a chance to close out games again. And somewhere, smaller market, let things, just worry about getting back to pitching well again. But yeah, I'm not totally out on him. It was very roller coaster year for him. It was really bad start, and then he was like elite for parts of May, almost all of May, and then the wheels fell off again, and then he got hurt. So yeah, again, injury risk is definitely there, but still someone to keep an eye on as far as free agents go, because if he lands in a spot where he can get a chance to win the closer role, yeah, there's definitely some intriguing late round value there for Romano. I'm sure he won't cost a lot no matter where he lands.
All right, and wrapping up our unlucky relievers, we have the NL reliever underachiever of the year, Jose Ferrer, who pitched to a 4.36 ERA for the Nationals, but he did end up taking over the closer role in the second half and pitched to a 2.89 Sierra, which is a near 1.5 point difference between his ERA. So Ferrer deserved a lot better than the results suggest, but I definitely have been reaping the benefits of him as a closer for the Nationals here in the second half in our home league.
Yeah, he's a fun. He's not your typical closer. Left-handed to start with. Big ground ball guy, 62.4% ground ball guy. But yeah, the stuff's really good. He throws upper 90s, 110 stuff plus. Doesn't give him a ton of strikeouts, but yeah, there's still a lot to like here. I think he's the favorite to open up the year as the Nationals closer next year. And that 4.36 ERA probably will give you some sort of discount. So yeah, someone to target and keep an eye on to see, maybe the Nationals do start spending some money now that their core is starting to kind of come together.
And they got that new GM.
Yeah, the guy from the Red Sox it's a good hire for them. But yeah, I don't know. It it's kind of been 2 unlucky years for Jose Ferrer. So hopefully next year he can, turn things around and right the ship. And yeah, he should be a good solid, like Emmanuel Clase light for me. It's like good solid ratios, saves. But yeah, the hard hit rate is still a little concerning. That's what needs to come down a little bit for him.
All right, and now we'll close things out with our last pair of awards, and this is sort of the opposite of the ones we just discussed, and this will be the overachievers or the lucky relievers of the year. And we'll start with the American League, as Carlos Estevez wins the luckiest American League reliever award. He had a 2.49 ERA with a 4.96 xFIP, nearly 2.5 run difference there between those two metrics. Yeah, almost double as well. Pretty crazy for Estevez, who also is on pace to lead baseball in saves as well. He's at 41 on the season. So a really incredible fantasy campaign for Estevez because of the results, but not somebody we're going to be hanging our hat on to target next year.
And he's going to get, he's going to get the Ryan Helsley treatment, and where he's going to get pushed up because of how many saves he had. And yeah, the ERA is still low and the ratios are low, but yeah, they're, maybe it's not even next year where the regression happens. I don't know when it's gonna come. It's going to come though, because even pitching in Kauffman in that environment, when the AL Central, it's a he's a really good situation for him, but there's still a lot of hard contact, a lot of fly balls. His 19.6% K rates. You have a strikeout rate over 20%. I mean, come on. Closing out games, man. 24.2% CSW is 4th worst amongst all relievers.
Wow.
That xFIP's like one of the worst amongst relievers too. So qualified relievers. So yeah, there's just I don't know. It's been 2 lucky years in a row. Is he going to have a third one, or is the regression monster coming next year? Either way, I'm probably not going to. I'm not going to be holding him to find out, if it's next year or not. I'm probably going to stay away.
All right, that's Carlos Estevez. And our last award will go to the National League Overachiever, the luckiest reliever in the NL award, which will go to Jojo Romero, who pitched very well for the Cardinals this year with a 2.07 ERA, finishing off a lot of games here in the second half after they traded away Ryan Helsley. But again, with a 4.12 xFIP, which is more than 2 runs north of his ERA, suggesting he deserved a lot worse than he got. But regardless, Romero was really good this year. He was just definitely very lucky.
Yeah, a 10.2% K- walk rate's pretty gross as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's left-handed. I feel like he's a good reliever. He's just not a closer. But he's kind of been acting as their closer I've pretty much just been being the veteran there who has had some closing experience. But as they head into the offseason, if they don't add anyone to that bullpen, I still wonder if someone internally like a Matt Swanson could, or even maybe Riley O'Brien, but I feel like Swanson's the best reliever there. Could take that role. So if I'm trying to draft a Cardinals reliever at some point, I'm just taking a really late round dart on Swanson until we get more clarity. It's obviously super early for next year.
All right. Well, that will do it for our Relief Pitcher Awards and for this episode 138 of In the Pen, and for the 2025 regular season. For us moving forward, we'll be on our typical offseason / playoffs schedule, where we'll be posting every other week. So you can catch us there. Always feel free to reach out to us on social media with any questions, or sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro so that you can DM us or message in the group chats there to ask us any questions you have in the off season as we head into draft season and the playoffs prior to that. But speaking of socials, Rick, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet and what you'll be working on this off season.
Yeah, you can find me on socials at I am Rick Graham. Yeah, now I'm done with the weekly list, so now starting to work on taking a little break and then starting to work on early top 50 closers for next year, which is going to be just with all the free agents. I don't know how to really predict. It's obviously hard to predict closers at this point, but I don't know. It's fun. I still enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to getting that out. And then, First Pitch Arizona will be presenting there. And then we start looking into saves plus holds and all that stuff and all the good stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on for now.
All right. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the pod at In the Pen Pod. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. This offseason, I'll probably be doing a little more starting pitching focused stuff. So stay tuned for that. I don't know if it's going to be articles or Twitter posts or podcasts or et cetera, or if I'm just going to be in the shadows working on studying my starters. But I'll also continue to do work for Baseball HQ in the playing time analysis department. So make sure to check out the work over there and stay tuned to the In the Pen podcast every other week. But that'll do it for the 2025 regular season and this episode of In the Pen. We'll talk to you all in a couple of weeks.